not as meaningful as I would have liked. There it is. We just saw in our last class a great presentation by Brian about how important design is up front. Our designs are going to be a lot simpler because we don't have 6 months full-time job to do all these tasks. And I want you to learn a lot of little things, not make it. I want it to look good, but I don't want it to be too overly complicated. But everybody's going to have their own unique database system, and it's going to be 3 tables, not 2, not 4. 3. We're going to have one, I guess you might call it, you have 2 regular tables, if you want to call them regular tables, and then we're going to have a third table that's called an associative table, or sometimes they call it a junction table. There's ample YouTube videos about this, but I think we talked about this little layout here, and basically we have a primary key for each table, and now you don't have to do it this way. You can have a key that has multiple elements on it, but we're not going to do it that way. There's reasons why, but I don't want to get into it right now. So that each table is going to have a unique primary key on it, but these other tables are going to have foreign keys. This table is going to have foreign keys with these other tables. So you guys who are taking database or already had it know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, all it means is we're going to have an ID field and an ID field here that are the same number as these tables. So let's take an example. What would be an example of, let's say we're going to take the Uber example, and we're going to we'll have drivers, riders, and fares, we'll call it, say. So we would have drivers, actually I'll put it here, drivers is the name of the file, the table, and we're going to have riders, and that's going to be a table, and then we're going to have fares. And we want to use an S at the end of the name of the table. Do you have to? No. I just want you to do it for this course. When you're out in the wild, you can do whatever the heck you want. But just for the purposes of this course, I want you to do this standard way, because I want us to be able to review each other's work, and if we're all doing it in a similar way, it makes it a lot easier to work together on it. Besides, if you do go to a company, you're not going to be working alone usually, but it could happen. Anyway, so please use that standard, and everything's lowercase except for it's camel case for the, it's camel case basically. So start with lowercase, not letter. So now every table will have ID, and let's suppose in this case you would have you would use a prefix for the ID that's a foreign key. So let's suppose this one here is the driver one. We might say DRI. A lot of times you just use the first 3 letters of the thing. You pick a standard. This one I'm not so strict about. But we'll call it DRI ID, and that lets us know that there's a driver's ID in this table. That has to exist, or else we can't create this record. And same thing for this one, be rider's ID. And so here we've got a design. We have a 3-table design, entity relationship diagram, with an associative table that's the main core of the application. This is where all the action is. You can add drivers and add riders, but generally those things are already in there. It's getting all the fares logged. Now, what information might you want for a driver? What might be in there? Name. Anything else? Salary, yeah, you might need that. But for this application, we're not so much worried about salary. We could probably add up all his fares and figure out how much money he made, right? But, yeah, we could put salary on it. It doesn't really matter. But we're going to probably need his mobile phone number, right? Because people have to call the driver, say, hey, I changed, I'm inside the building because it was raining outside or whatever, right? And who knows what else, right? But some way to contact the person typically. And same thing for the rider, right? The rider's probably need to have a name and a phone number and so forth. This is a really good example because we could have had one file called persons, and we could have two of these. We could have made it so that we had persons, and then we had an associative table here that has two different people IDs in there. Technically, you could even make it so that a rider could drive himself, right? That is totally legitimate. You see that a lot in real applications, but we're not going to do it that way, even if the application would allow for it. We're doing this to demonstrate concepts, not to actually make a commercial product. So now, what things might be on the fares and table? Well, now this is one that's really common. There's a lot of times you'll have the fare, even though it's a single. How much money was it? You could call it money, but it's the fare, right? Another one might be the pickup time, the pickup location, drop off, right? Time, drop off location. There's any number of things that you might want to put into that table. Now, this concept, when you look at somebody explain it on the screen, it seems perfectly easy, almost trivial, right? Okay, why did I have to sit through 6 minutes and 44 seconds of this, to learn this? Well, when you actually try to design applications, you'll find it gets a little tricky. And I'm going to ask you to do 5 of them right now. So divide up into groups of 3 and try to make 5 applications, not Uber and not Airbnb, but come up with your own applications in 3 tables. It's not as easy as you might think. It's going to take a few minutes to do this. But it's very helpful because if you don't understand this concept, everything else is really, you're explaining stuff 3 weeks later that you really want people to know right away. So I don't want you to leave this room today without being clear on this design. Okay, so do you think is that enough information to go on? I think if you guys had a database, probably it is. I don't know. You tell me. Is there any questions? So just get in groups of 3 or 4 and divide up, and each group come up with 5 different applications. And whenever you're done with that, we'll get on to the next piece.